Have you ever noticed how, despite so many achievements and opportunities, many people still feel lost? We live in a world filled with information and choices, yet dissatisfaction and anxiety keep growing. What's missing? Few have the courage to admit it, but the answer may lie in a lack of truth. Often, we choose comfort over living authentically, which leaves us feeling empty. Today, let's talk about how the courage to face the truth can transform your life. Ready to take this head-on? Facing life's challenges may seem daunting, but avoiding them brings even more suffering. Life by nature is full of uncertainties and obstacles, and trying to escape them only feeds frustration and resentment. Imagine someone who always seeks the easy path. In time, this person sinks into a negative mindset because growth opportunities were left behind. Facing the truth and taking risks is the only way to embark on a journey of adventure and self-discovery. There's a certain power in confronting what we fear. When someone decides to accept risk, life begins to open up in unexpected ways. For example, think of someone who changes careers in the middle of a crisis, despite uncertainties, and ends up discovering new skills they never thought they had. The initial discomfort may feel intimidating, but it's in this unstable ground where true growth happens. Choosing truth in practice means choosing growth. Now, of course, that doesn't mean it's easy. The riskier path is undoubtedly more challenging, and you will often feel tempted to give up. But avoiding that risk comes at a high price. The person who constantly shies away ends up becoming bitter, cynical, because the adventure of life is lost when courage is left behind. No wonder they say the greatest challenges bring the greatest rewards. Living authentically and embracing the unknown is a daily commitment. Small examples, like accepting constructive criticism at work or taking a chance on a new friendship, illustrate this well. Each time you allow yourself to step out of your comfort zone, you grow, and it's this growth that makes life interesting. When we face the truth, the road may be bumpy, but it's this turbulence that strengthens our soul. Interestingly, even in small day-to-day decisions, we can choose the path of truth or evasion. Think about that moment when you feel the urge to avoid a difficult conversation. Perhaps it's a sign that this conversation is exactly what needs to happen. Facing these situations with courage can be transformative and open doors that once seemed impossible to cross. Those who get used to avoiding risks deprive themselves of great opportunities. It's as if they've placed an invisible barrier in front of their own lives. It's no wonder that so many people find themselves stuck in the same routine, complaining about the same situations without realizing that they're blocking themselves by not embracing the new. Taking risks is the price of adventure, and adventure is the heart of life. During today's video, aside from the main topics, I'd like to share something that made a difference for me. Recently, I started using CineBoost, which has helped me improve focus, energy, and even reduce daily anxiety. If you want to know more, check out the pinned comment. And the best part is you only pay for shipping. The moment we accept that life is, by nature, full of challenges, we begin to understand that risk is inevitable. And it's precisely there where magic happens, where truth blends with courage. Speaking of courage, it plays an even more important role when we talk about the pursuit of truth. Telling the truth seems simple, but it's one of the most profound responsibilities someone can assume. Truth is the foundation of any trusting relationship, whether in work, relationships, or society. When someone decides to live truthfully without manipulation or distortion, they create a solid foundation for personal success and growth. And the interesting part is, although the truth can sometimes be hard to face, it always leads us down the most authentic path, and in the long run, the most rewarding one. On the other hand, avoiding the truth may seem tempting, especially when the situation is uncomfortable. Who hasn't preferred to hide something to avoid immediate confrontation? But this choice has consequences. Avoiding the truth costs us the accumulation of insecurities and the deterioration of relationships, whether professional or personal. Manipulation, though it may seem like a quick fix, only weakens the foundations upon which we build our lives. Living transparently has a moral value. When we are honest, we create an atmosphere of mutual respect, which facilitates progress in all areas of life. If you want a practical example, think of great leaders we know. They are, above all, people who value truth. Through it, they gain trust and loyalty. If you want to apply this to your life, start by observing the small truths you can tell, even if they are uncomfortable, in your daily routine. Furthermore, truth frees us from living behind masks. When you commit to the truth, you stop spending energy maintaining appearances or creating scenarios that aren't real. This opens up space to live a lighter, more genuine life. It's as if a weight were lifted off your shoulders. In the long term, those who live transparently find themselves at peace with the world and with themselves, knowing there's nothing to hide. Of course, being honest doesn't mean being brutal or hurting others. There's a wise way to be truthful. We don't always need to say everything at once, but we can choose the right moment, the right tone, and above all, show respect for others. This makes all the difference. Contrary to what many think, telling the truth doesn't mean creating conflicts. It actually means avoiding them in the future. For anyone still doubting the importance of truth, just observe the deterioration that lies cause. Small omissions and manipulations, when accumulated, turn even the strongest relationships into unstable ground. And the problem is, it's often hard to repair the damage done by a lie. It's better to prevent by being authentic, without fear of the consequences, as the truth, even if painful, has the power to heal. Now, the courage to be truthful goes beyond simple words. It's a daily practice of facing reality as it is, without trying to control it through half-truths. And this leads us to a deeper reflection on the relationship between cynicism and courage. Two concepts that, throughout life, often clash. Cynicism is often the result of shattered naivety. It's what happens when people are confronted with the harsh realities of life and aren't prepared to deal with disappointment. Initially, cynicism seems like protection, a way to avoid more pain and disillusionment. But in truth, it robs us of the ability to view the world with curiosity and openness. Courage, on the other hand, is the key to overcoming this mental trap. When courage aligns with wisdom, a person no longer needs to hide behind cynicism. Being courageous doesn't mean becoming naive again. Rather, it means having the strength to face reality, even when it's unpleasant. A practical example of this is someone who dares to start a business after having failed before. The cynic would say it's not worth trying again because the world is cruel. The courageous person, however, acknowledges past mistakes, learns from them, and tries again, this time with more strategy and wisdom. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. And the most interesting part is that courage is contagious. When someone chooses to abandon cynicism and adopt a confrontational stance, it inspires those around them. The opposite is also true. Cynicism can be highly corrosive, dragging others into a cycle of negativity. Therefore, it's essential to wisely choose the influences around us. Courageous people tend to create environments where hope, action, and positivity flourish. One of the biggest challenges in adopting courage is accepting that not everything will go as planned. And that's okay. Those with courage know that failure is part of the process and don't see it as the end of the road. It's an opportunity to learn and move forward. Cynics, on the other hand, avoid any situation that could result in failure, preferring the safety of stagnation. The difference lies in those who choose to live despite the risks and those who prefer to stay on the sidelines. The truth is, living without the courage to try is almost like not living at all. And this choice between cynicism and courage presents itself to us all the time. From trivial decisions like giving an honest opinion to major ones, like facing an illness or starting a life project. The more courageous we become, the more freedom we feel, because we are no longer prisoners of fear. And freedom is the greatest gift that courage can give us. Now, of course, there's a fine line between courage and recklessness. Wisdom is what helps us balance this scale. It's not about going out into the world without any planning or analysis, but rather about acting even when certainty isn't fully aligned. Having courage doesn't mean ignoring risks. It means being willing to face them consciously, without being paralyzed by fear of failure. And speaking of failure, there's something to be said about the danger of letting cynicism consume you. When cynicism is unchecked, it grows and transforms into bitterness. And bitterness, as we know, can lead to self-destructive behaviors that are often irreversible. Cynicism may start as a form of self-protection, but if left unchecked, it quickly becomes poison to the soul. When a person closes themselves off to the world, believing that nothing good can come of it, they put themselves in a position of emotional vulnerability. This happens because by denying the positive side of life, the person also closes the door to new growth opportunities. In the long run, cynicism not only corrodes personal perspective, but also negatively affects those around them. The biggest risk of cynicism is that it doesn't remain as isolated thoughts. It creates a cycle in which a person convinces themselves that failure is inevitable, leading to inertia and eventually emotional collapse. It's as if, once cynicism takes hold, it takes control, causing actions to become more and more destructive. The problem is that the more someone gives in to this type of thinking, the harder it becomes to break the cycle and start believing in something greater. Imagine someone who loses their job and, instead of seeking a new opportunity, decides to believe the job market is an unjust jungle and that they'll never find work again. This kind of cynical mindset not only paralyzes actions, but also destroys self-esteem and the ability to recover. What could have been a temporary phase turns into a chronic state of bitterness and disappointment, leading to a downward spiral. Another risk of cynicism is the impact it has on relationships. Cynical people often end up pushing away those who want to help or inspire them to try something new. Constant pessimism creates a toxic environment, and over time, the person finds themselves isolated. The irony is that the more isolated they become, the more convinced they are that the world is unjust and that loneliness is inevitable. This cycle can be avoided with the courage to open up to new possibilities, even if it means risking vulnerability. In the long run, cynicism can even lead to physical problems. Studies show that people who give in to negative thoughts are more likely to develop chronic diseases. It's not just an emotional issue, it has a real impact on the body. Accumulated stress, lack of hope, and isolation can trigger a series of health problems. All of this could be avoided if at some point the person chose to face their fears rather than seek refuge in cynicism. There's also a subtle danger. Cynicism can be appealing to those seeking a sense of intellectual superiority. Who hasn't heard someone say they're cynical because they understand the world as it really is? This kind of thinking only feeds the illusion that cynicism is a sophisticated stance, when in reality, it's just a mask for insecurity and fear of taking risks. Being cynical is not being wise, it's avoiding the responsibility of living fully. Over time, if cynicism isn't faced, it transforms into something much more dangerous: bitterness. And bitterness, as we know, is a path that can lead to self-sabotage and total isolation. But there's a way out, and it begins with the power to question one's own beliefs. Asking questions may seem simple, but it's one of the most powerful tools for personal and intellectual growth. Curiosity is the antidote to stagnation because, by questioning the world around us, we open doors to new perspectives and ideas. However, many people are afraid to ask questions out of fear of appearing ignorant or vulnerable. What they don't realize is that by avoiding questions, they limit their possibilities for learning and development. The power of asking questions lies in the ability to confront what we don't know. When someone allows themselves to question what once seemed certain, they begin to see new paths. Think of a situation at work. Instead of accepting an inefficient process, the person who asks, "Why do we do it this way?" has the chance to improve and innovate. Those who don't question accept the status quo, and the status quo is often the enemy of evolution. Another advantage of asking questions is that it helps us recognize our mistakes. Often, pride prevents someone from admitting they don't know something or that they made a mistake. But in reality, it's through mistakes that we learn. Those who allow themselves to ask, "Where did I go wrong?" are closer to correcting their course and achieving success. It's a matter of humility, yes, but also of strategic intelligence. Asking questions empowers us. Additionally, asking difficult questions forces us to deal with realities we might prefer to ignore. It's uncomfortable to question whether we're in the right job, the right relationship, or living according to our values. But these hard questions bring the most valuable answers. Those who have the courage to ask, "Is this what I really want?" are much closer to finding their true life purpose. The practice of constant questioning also keeps us open to continuous learning. The world is constantly changing, and those who believe they already know everything end up getting left behind. This is why the humility to learn something new every day is what differentiates people who grow from those who stay stagnant. A practical example would be seeking new knowledge through books, online courses, or even conversations with people in different fields. Questioning is also key to improving personal relationships. Instead of making assumptions about someone's behavior, why not ask directly what's going on? Many misunderstandings arise simply because people don't ask enough questions. Communication, both personal and professional, improves drastically when we show genuine interest in others through sincere questions. Throughout life, the ability to question protects us from conformity. Asking is an act of courage because it challenges the established and forces us to seek something better. And when it comes to facing cynicism or bitterness, asking, "Why am I feeling this way?" can be the first step to finding a new perspective and perhaps rediscovering the courage to live fully and authentically. Keep watching the videos on the channel. There's one here on the screen that I highly recommend for taking the next step on your journey. After everything we've discussed, it's time to put this knowledge into practice. If you truly want to change your life, the key lies in making bolder decisions, confronting the truths you've been avoiding, and questioning everything that's kept you stagnant. Think about it. What's stopping you from living more authentically? What's stopping you from chasing your dreams without looking back? Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small step counts. Ask yourself, which areas of your life need a fresh perspective? How can you start taking more calculated risks and stepping out of your comfort zone? Leave your comments below. I want to know what you're going to do from now on.